Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Next Level podcast. I am your host, Tom Lauro, and I am so excited to have my guests on today. This is an episode that I've been kind of cooking up in my mind for a bit now. So we have Jeremy Slagle and his two kids, Faith and Caleb. How are you guys doing?
Very good.
Good to see you guys. Glad we were able to get this on the books.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
So typically the way I like to start this is, obviously, Jeremy, you've done enough of these podcasts where most people would know your backstory, but if you guys just want to give a little bit of information about who you are, where you're at, and then we'll just kind of roll into today's topic after that.
Yeah. So you're in my studio right now. This is built on the back of our house. We added this on about 11 years ago. I've been in business on my own with Slagle Design for the last 15 years. It'll be 16 this November. So these two kind of grew up in it. It's been stuck to the side of their house most of their growing up. And I'm an illustrator and a graphic designer, and I'm based here in Columbus, Ohio.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. And obviously my name is Caleb. I grew up in the design studio as well. Going to meetings, going to press checks, all that kind of stuff. So graphic design has just always kind of been a part of my life, and I don't know, it was a really easy decision to go into it. And now Faith and I work at the same agency together, which was pretty great. First jobs out of college, so yeah.
Very cool.
Yep. And we were homeschooled too, growing up all the way through 8th grade. So being home and then having the studio directly attached, it was like, hey, did you get your math homework done? Cool. You want to come with me to present a logo to this client? And so at the age of 8, we were going with you to present to Cedarville and all these really cool opportunities to just kind of really immerse ourselves in the process from day one.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that is kind of a good jumping point into today's topic for this episode, which is what I'm calling or tagging as generational creatives. And it was just this idea that actually came from a post that I had seen you put on Instagram, Jeremy, just about just kind of a proud dad moment of oh, I'm so proud of these kids. They're out here, they're designers, and they're working together. And I was like, it's so interesting because there are so many podcast episodes on the market about you and what your backstory is, but I think it's really interesting because I'm you don't really hear a lot about people's personal lives, outside of graphic design, even though this is kind of adjacent, but what your kids are doing. And then also I was so interested. It was both kids decided to follow in your footsteps and go into the same profession, which is to me so wild because I feel a lot of times kids want to rebel against their parents. And, I was just this is so crazy that they liked it so much that they decided they wanted to do the same thing as you. So I was just I would love to do an episode where we could just talk about, their perspective and just growing up and living in this world with you, of you being a creative and them just falling in love with the industry.
Yeah, there's that third one we don't talk about. He's bringing us one.
We keep him under the stairs.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I think, what's interesting to me is obviously you guys are new as professionals in the industry, but I'm really curious as to what was life like for you guys growing up in a world where your dad at one point owning and running a small agency in Columbus, with other employees, and then seeing him transition to a one-man studio, and then you guys deciding oh, I've watched him kind of work through this my whole life. What was so inspirational for you guys to take this and then say, oh, I want to do this myself?
Yeah, I think at its core, it really just is that I long to be creative, and whatever that is, I'm happy to do it. So we have a wood shop in the basement. So growing up, we would always build pine wood derby cars every year. Mm-hmm. And although we never won for speed, we always won for design. We had the coolest looking cars, not fast, but cool. And I think that was just something that was always taught, was just to be creative. We had movie time limited to 30 minutes a day. So we had a lot of time to kill. So Faith and I would just build stuff. I mean, it's not manly, but I would build like doll houses for Faith, and we'd build tree houses for her dolls out of cardboard or anything. And it's just like I said, at that base, it's just wanting to be creative and use our hands to just bring stuff into the world. And I don't think, I mean, Faith and I were pretty young when Dad worked and was at Element. I remember little bits and pieces here, mostly when they got fired, playing a game of life and rocking back and forth when it kept...
He landed on loose jobs.
Yeah, it was a little bit hitting close to home, but I really just remember most fondly, him working in a little room in our upstairs, and we'd be practicing piano, and he'd be like, "Hey guys, I have a client coming over. You gotta stop playing piano," or stuff like that. But then just the ability to the downsides of having to stop playing piano, the upsides were we got to watch him sketch and draw and watch him talk to clients and get like real world experience. Even before we started interning for him, that was really, really valuable.
Yeah, not having to go to school allowed us to do cool things. Like if I did a photo shoot out of town, I'd be like, "Caleb, you're going to help me schlep photo equipment around, and we're going to set up a photo shoot at this college campus. And then at the end of the day, I'm making sure I get a hotel that's got a pool, so you can swim. Like, or we're going to go out to dinner. Right? We're going to go out to. I'll treat you to dinner. It's the little things, but yeah. So go ahead, Faith. You have something?
Yeah, just like it was always encouraged to like do something, like entertain yourselves, and it can't just be on screen. So like 30 minutes of screen time, period. That would be video games, that would be watching a movie, whatever. But the exceptions were unless it was something educational or creative. So like we could watch YouTube videos on how to do things. So I think honestly, a lot of our loopholes were finding like creative YouTubers that we enjoyed. Little did we know this was their plan all along. Like, you can't watch Disney movies, but you can watch this person make things. And then we were like, oh, but we could make that too. Yeah. And so like our entire basement, I took over with dollhouses.
Quite literally.
The entire like basement was like Barbie town. There's like coffee shop and all this stuff. And it was like, I don't know that I always wanted to be a designer, but I always wanted to do something creative. And like we both kind of bounced around a little bit, I think. But like there's a while I was like, I want to be a fashion designer, which no. And then like interior design and like all these things, but everything still had to do with being creative because that was what was emphasized a lot of like Saturday morning art lessons with Dad. We're gonna draw. We're gonna learn how to do this today. And that was so valuable in like just getting our imaginations running and that being like the thing we had to rely on to entertain ourselves. It just kind of became the inevitable path to do something creative.
Oh, I wish I could hear her 20-year-old self go back and tell her 8-year-old self that Saturday morning art lesson with Dad is going to have this kind of an impact. So
yeah. Well, it's so funny because, similar experience. My dad is a lawyer, but he always ran an office where he was by himself, and eventually he moved his firm back to home because it was just cheaper and easier for him to work out of an office in the house. And I saw that and was like, absolutely not. I do not want to do that because, when you're a kid and you see your parent stressed out about, paying bills or dealing with clients and, it's not always the fun stuff. I mean, sometimes it is, sure, get to go to meetings and you get to, go on a day trip or something like that. Especially here, my dad, born and raised in Brooklyn. So really fun to be able to go to Coney Island for a day and like go to a closing and then like hang out and go on the Wonder Wheel or the Cyclone or something. But, there were a lot of times where you're like, oh, wow, like this seems really stressful. And then you get to a point in your life where you make a decision, like, what am I going to do with my career? And then you say, well, I definitely don't want to do 4 years of college and then 4 years of law school and then have to take the bar exam because I had to listen to my dad complain about it. Hopefully he listens to this and he doesn't he doesn't get angry. But
they've seen my stress too. They've seen the good side and the bad side of what I've gone through. And they still decided to do it, which is pretty amazing. So
well, that's kind of like a big talking point for me, at least, like question wise, is how do you foster that level of curiosity and enjoyment for your kids, like throughout their lives, that they say like, wow, this, even though it was difficult sometimes, like it still looked like enough fun to try to pursue this as a career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what they said is very true, and that was very foundational when they were little. I mean, I became a graphic designer because I like to draw. I got in trouble all the time for drawing Batman in the margins of my notes growing up in elementary school, in middle school, and high school.
Yeah.
I just knew that it was just a part of who I was. It's academically, it was the only thing that I actually did well.
Yeah.
That's not the case for these two. They got the academic side from my parents or from my wife, so they've got the whole package. But it's just been, I think, one of the things that we just encouraged them was not just about screen time and not just about like, I was listening to a podcast today and they were talking about how our lives are lacking something that's really, really important, and that is boredom. It's really important for us, even as adults, to not settle into this rhythm where we're constantly being fed stuff into our brains, looking at our, playing video games, watching YouTube videos, having our phone constantly out. They mentioned something about like, you remember when you used to just like wait for your coffee at Starbucks? Like, you waited for your coffee at Starbucks. You might even get into a conversation with the person in front of you or behind you, And I think that was one of the things that we just tried to really say, like, no, screen time it's okay. There's nothing wrong with having screen time. It just should be limited. And even when it came to money, we always told them, like, we'd save up our Blix coupons when they would come in the mail. And it was like, hey, if you guys want to do something creative, we will pay for it. We will buy the supplies. We will buy the art supplies. I bought a Glowforge when it was on Kickstarter. And I think it is probably one of the first things that really motivated Caleb to learn Illustrator. Because you could export an SVG or a PDF right out of Illustrator and then like make actual physical things come to life by, burning them and cutting them out on the Glowforge and assembling them. I remember during COVID, Caleb used to build like penny hockey games and Connect Fours, and like he figured out how to design all this stuff, and he was like selling them on Facebook Marketplace. And so, those, just giving them opportunities. Faith is just constantly crocheting. She's in a constant state. Yeah.
My bank account does not appreciate the yarn purchase.
Yes.
And Joanne's should not have gone out of business based on how much money I spent.
Oh, rip. Yeah. Rest in peace, Joanne.
So, we've just always valued that. And I think the thing I would say is even if your kids don't end up being creative, it's kind of like why we take music lessons when we're like, nobody expects their kids to grow up and be like the next great songwriter, right? You're teaching them stuff that is good for their brain. It's good for their development. And so even if they decided that they were going to become a lawyer or a doctor or a rocket scientist or whatever they decided to do, that part of their brain was well developed and they could use it to problem solve whatever was thrown their way.
Sure. Now, Caleb and Faith, which one of you is the older sibling? Just out of curiosity.
I'm older. I just
Okay.
turned 23. Yeah. And
Okay.
I'll be 21 in like a month.
Okay, so you guys are fresh out of college then.
The funny story behind that is I always thought like my dad always said like, why would you ever pay to go to college if
That's a fair
like
point.
just learn in person? So I was like, okay, I'll just do Columbus State, local community college. So my path was 2 years at Columbus State. And then even before I graduated, I started interviewing because I wanted to just work for my dad. And my dad was like, no, you need to get experience like outside because
Someone else needs to assign you stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, which I think is really valuable in learning how other people do things and learning, how the real world works, I guess. So I got my first job right before I graduated. And I was like, you know what, this 2-year degree gets me my first job. After that, like I just don't even, I was 20. I don't even put it on my resume anymore. Like it doesn't matter where I go to college. Like, look at my work. And if you think it's good, then hire me. If you don't, then don't. But don't ask me to go to college.
Yeah.
And then I went to Columbus State.
There's 2 years between the two of them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So I went to Columbus State for a year. Caleb had already been working at his company for a year. And then one of their designers left because she had her second kid, and she was like, I want to be a mom. This is great. And Caleb was like, I have somebody that I know. And then his boss was like, and you work with your sister. Like,
Yeah.
how is this going to work out? And so I
Yeah.
think there was a lot of conversation with Caleb
Yeah.
and her before. And then
I think we gave her a couple sleepless nights where she was like, I don't know if this is going to work out. How the sibling dynamic will work.
And
Yeah.
then when she interviewed me, literally she was like, just fun questions, just getting to know me. And then she was like, I really have one question, and that is, can you work with your brother? And like, can you take constructive criticism? And I was
Sure.
like, honestly, like, we have grown up having to coexist in the same space because we homeschooled together for so long, and we went
Yeah.
to the same high school, and we had a lot of the same friends. Like, we have had to learn to get along. And by that point too, I think we started to become pretty good friends too, like past just like being siblings.
Sure.
And so I've been with that company for almost 2 years now.
Yeah. So she owes me everything.
Yeah.
Of
He's
course.
in college. So I took the job and I dropped out.
Yes.
So I don't have a degree,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I
think another thing that came to mind that I didn't mention earlier is that starting early, like when they were in high school, I would take them to Creative South.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like they were like, people were just like, what are they doing here? I think the first couple of years, but that's been one of our favorite. That's probably, we look forward to Creative South more than just about anything else
it's
we
like
do.
Christmas.
It is.
Yeah.
And sadly, Caleb's not going to come with us this year.
Oh no.
Sad. We're going down. But Faith and I are going to make the drive. But
Okay.
you know, even just getting them around other creative people besides Dad, I think that was really, really valuable. You know, Caleb, I remember having dinner with Brad Woodard and hanging out with him one night, and like Von Glitchka would just hang out with us and just was always very interested in like them as people, not just like for any other purpose. And so like hearing these awesome speakers and then those people grabbing lunch or dinner with us, I always try to make it a thing that we're spending as much time with other creative people as possible while we're there. That's the beauty of Creative South.
Sure.
So
And the one time we got to have dinner with Luis Feely, not Faith,
Yes.
sorry. And the Faith wasn't there,
I
but
didn't make the cut.
yeah, that was a legendary dinner. I
Yeah.
didn't get to talk to her that much, but just being around her and like Todd, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
and having kids that are in like middle school that are geeking out over the fact that they're having dinner,
Yeah, that's pretty great.
you know, or hanging out with Jessica Hish or hanging out with like I'm pretty involved with the organization here in Columbus that's kind of like our AIGA. And so when speakers would come, we would go to every meeting. I would take them to the meetings, and then I would figure out a way to weasel ourselves into going out to dinner with everybody afterwards. So,
Yeah.
you know, having them even like hear the person speak and present their work and then sit across the table or sit next to them. I'd try to get them as close to the speakers we could for dinner.
Sure.
And just let them be kids and let them ask questions. And,
Yeah.
and I love that about the creative community because they loved my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Every person I brought in contact with my kids throughout all of that poured into my kids. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. It's not just Dad. It's putting them around the right people.
Right. So it's like networking through osmosis. You know, you don't know what's happening as a kid, but then you realize like all these great conversational skills and being able to meet your inspirational like idols as a child, like that's a really cool thing. And it just speaks to the benefits of what this kind of has been for you guys, having almost like a built-in mentor your whole life, which is great. And I just think actually going back to college, it's so cool that you guys were able to just kind of decide like, oh, my career path doesn't have to be driven by the educational system because, and probably you don't know, but before I was doing graphic design, I was an architect for like 10 years. And of course, like you have to go to school for this, but there's just like, I don't know, there isn't the flexibility I feel like as a teenager to really, at least in this day and age, to have the time to really figure out what you want to do. So to have parents that just aren't pressuring you to go to college and be able to say, hey, you know, I like this, it's cool, but I think I can do it on my own. It's nice. And like, it's actually kind of unexpected, Jeremy. I wasn't, you know, it just seems like I don't know, maybe it's the design community in New York, but it's everybody is constantly like toting about where they went to college and, you know, blah blah blah. So it's really interesting like to have that kind of perspective where it's like, oh yeah, like if you can do it, do it. Go
Yeah.
out and work and be creative and be successful. You don't need the
Yeah.
degree to do that.
Well, and we're in one of the few fields that you don't have to have any certifications.
Right.
You don't have to like. I have a year and a half of junior college myself. That's all I have as far as college goes.
Yeah.
I learned early while I was in high school back when Adobe Type Manager was for the first time actually allowing you to see what a font looked like on a screen.
Sure.
You know, and creating stuff on a 9-inch black and white Mac Plus.
Yeah.
Monitor. But that's where I started getting my hands dirty and being able to do that, and you know, working with my local school to create posters and swag for the theater productions and my church youth group. Like every time we would do a big event with our church youth group, my youth pastor would give me the opportunity to create the signage and the posters and the banners and the flyers and whatever it was to get the kids interested in going. So all of those little things just added up for me too. So
Yeah.
I really don't care where anybody goes to college. In fact, some of the people I know that are some of the best designers and illustrators I know, they are like you. They went to college for something else and they switched and did something else. And I don't care. It doesn't. What I care about is your soft skills and your ability to think critically, to be able to solve problems, and then show me a great portfolio and be able to work on a team. Like get along with other people. I think getting along with other people is oftentimes way more important than even being a great designer.
Totally.
Yeah, well, and I remember too, like going back to Creative South, like I think it was either like end of junior year or end of senior year, and we were trying to, you know, decide colleges, and there was a college that I was looking into in Kettering, Ohio, that's really, really great, like great college. But I remember sitting down in a talk with Chris Doe. And Chris Doe basically said, like, what would happen if you found your design idol and said, I want to pay you to intern with you. Just sit behind you just like I am right now. Just literally sit right behind you and ask you questions. Like, do you think if you said, I'll pay you $10,000 a year, they would let you do that? Probably.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what, like, my dad and I had a discussion after that. And we were like, that's brilliant, and I already have someone who I know and who is a designer and who loves me and who wants to teach me. And so we were like, okay, there we go. That kind of made the decision for me. And I've got lots of hot takes on college, but I just don't think it's for everyone.
And I think 3 of us do.
Yeah. It's great for people who need to go, and obviously there's fields like I don't want a doctor operating on me that doesn't have a degree.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Everybody grows up with a designer as a dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of more of a necessity.
Yeah. We were
Right.
very blessed to grow up and have, you know, all of these designers around us and that wanted to teach us, and really, yeah. So.
Sure. Now we talk about all the benefits of having a dad who works in this industry, and I mean, who himself has a whole following of people that love his illustration work and his branding work, but. You know, there's not to give you too big of a head, but you know, there's all these other things like that I think about. You know, is there ever any imposter syndrome, or do you guys ever feel like you're in the shadow of somebody who is so well loved in this community of designers that you're like, do I feel like I need to make a name for myself? Do I feel like I need to separate my personal style and my work so it speaks to who I am as opposed to being like my dad? Because obviously, you know, we are influenced by the people around us. So our work is derivative in a way. I mean, it can be very different, but still pull from places that influence our childhood or our adult life. So it's just like, do you guys ever feel like there's this sense of like, I need to carve out my own place in this industry?
I think for a while, especially like right at the beginning of like my career, there was a lot of imposter syndrome of like, I am 18 years old, working at an agency. I have no degree. I need to figure this out and look like I know what I'm doing.
Sure.
And then having to reconcile with the fact of like, no, I need to just have complete humility here and be like, if I don't know something, I need to ask. And no one is expecting these insane things out of me. Like, I am going to do my best in this. I'm going to do everything that I can to try to be as creative and original as possible. But at the end of the day, like, I will continue to progress at whatever speed that happens. It happens, and but I never felt like I was in like a shadow.
Mhm.
It is kind of funny because like being the youngest, like following in this footstep, like we both went to the same high school that Dad graduated from, and so
Sure.
it's like my whole life has just kind of been like, oh, you're Jeremy's kid, or oh, you're Caleb's sister, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of people will grow to resent that, and I never really did, for which I'm very thankful. But just, yeah, accepting that, like, he's cool. Like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
I want to be associated with that?
Sure.
Like, he's pretty
It
great.
took a podcast for us to out loud.
Yeah,
I love
well,
it.
we'll have it recorded forever, so don't
Yes,
worry. You
thank
can play
you.
this back.
I'm gonna make it my ringtone.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Caleb? I mean, I'm just curious. What has your journey been like in these last few years? Like, kind of finding your place in this world.
Yeah, I've 100% struggled with feeling like I never measured up, and not even just measuring up to my dad, because like I always tell people, if I have 50% of the talent that my dad has by the end of my life, I will be perfectly satisfied with that.
Yeah.
So like I try
I
to
already
just,
do.
I try to just set realistic expectations, but growing up around so many great creatives like Dylan Mangus or like whoever it is, I was always exposed to great work. And so the blessing of that is I always knew what great work looked like. I could tell what good work was from bad work. The hard part was I couldn't replicate good work for a really long time.
Sure.
And I have sketchbooks and sketchbooks and sketchbooks full of really bad work to prove that. And it was always the like, I have it in my head. I know what I want, but like creating it was really hard. And I'm just going to keep referencing Creative South because apparently that's the only impactful thing that I have to offer.
I'm wearing the
But-
shirt.
We were sitting
We're not
down-
being paid, I promise.
No, it's fine.
we were sitting down.
Pay me, please.
Yes.
Free tickets. I think it was the same year as the Christo talk. Doc Reed gave a talk about imposter syndrome, and he basically talked about how he himself struggles with it and how he overcomes it. And he said, like, looking at external things for inspiration is obviously great. It's necessary, but you have to limit that. So I think he said he gives himself 30 minutes to look, to gather inspiration, but then he does for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is. And I think that was important because growing up, I was always gathering inspiration, but I didn't want to do because I knew that when I did it, I would be disappointed and I would feel like I don't measure up because I didn't. And it's not a realistic expectation for me as I was a 16-year-old sitting in that seat that I would measure up to all of these great designers that I was surrounded by. But I think just as I've grown up, it's just like totally embracing the ugly stage and working through it and just like pushing. And I still feel imposter syndrome all the time.
Sure.
Especially when I get personal client work on the side, I do freelance stuff.
Mhm.
It really hits hard because I feel like the safety nets are gone. I don't have my creative director to help me. It's just me. Thankfully, I bounce everything off of these two. So
We get the
it
texts,
helps.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
read that we call the council.
The council.
I
But
love that.
It's where all logos go to get ripped to shreds.
that,
Lovingly.
yeah.
Yes, of course.
Including his.
Yeah.
Big mine.
I think it's a blessing and a curse because is the blessing that I know good works looks like. It's a curse because I struggle to make good work myself. And I do feel like over the last couple of years, like having a library to look back on and see all the work I've done, I can see how much growth has occurred. And that's really the only thing that's helped me feel like, okay, I can do X. Like I feel comfortable to do this because I know where I've come from. And now I know what bad work looks like because I did it. And now I know what better work looks like because I did it.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful. So
Cool.
just like embracing it and just doing. It's been the only thing that's helped me. But-
Yeah. It's so funny. I was going to ask you guys about talking shop at home and how that works out. Clearly, it happens often. But do you feel like, do you pull from your dad's kind of like experience at home? Like, through his workflow, is that something that you guys bring into your professional lives, or do you feel like you guys have kind of like, do you do things your own way?
I think we would love more structure of the way that he gets to do it, but we also have to be like very cognizant of the fact that like this is a full-blown agency that has never
Sure.
operated that way. Which I think also was so great for us, and part of the reason why he wanted us to not work for him for a little bit and go out
Sure.
and get our own experience, because it's like nothing operates the same, and the amount of freedom that he has to interface with clients is not the same. We barely
Sure.
get to speak to our clients,
Hmm.
which is
It's the agency life. That's how it is.
Yeah, of course.
So just having to learn to navigate things differently caused some frustration, but also is like, but this is how it works. And we got to learn to deal with it. And we have to learn how to figure out and make new ways to gather information. But like definitely if we take on freelance clients, it operates almost identically to how Dad would do it.
Sure.
But yeah, we have to learn to work in other situations as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's, I don't know. It's interesting just listening to the way you guys like talk about each other so complimentary. Because I feel like it can, there can be frustrations in when your parent is trying to almost like, explain how, oh, this is how I would do it, or this is how I think you should do it. But I mean, Jeremy, it seems like you have really just created kind of an atmosphere of like, well, now we're all on even playing field, So it's like we critique each other, we share ideas, we bounce things off of each other, and I think that's really nice.
Yeah, I think we went through stages though, and we still do, where
Mhm.
we don't agree and we do struggle.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was interning while I was in college with my dad. Like we had lots of butting heads moments where my dad was like, "No, you do it this way," and I was like, "But why?" And
Yeah.
he'd explain, and it didn't make sense to me. But
Sure.
now, like looking back, I'm like, "No, now I see how that works." So we've not always been this like smoothly oiled, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
got it.
I do think though, like having that separation of like not working together 24/7 has
Mhm.
helped, because then when we do ask, we're actually asking. It's not like a, well, I didn't ask you for your opinion kind of thing. You're just
Sure.
letting in. It's like, no, I genuinely do want your opinion. So
Yeah.
I think just the healthy like Faith said, coming in humble with humility, no matter who it is, whether that's me showing a logo to my dad and being like, well, whatever he says is gonna go, or showing it to Faith and being like, I'll decide whether I listen or not.
Sure.
It's just having that humility and also acknowledging that we all have different preferences,
Right.
and that's totally fine.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, I think, I don't know, Jeremy, you've done a great job. Seems like these kids are very well adjusted.
My wife had a huge part of that too.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Nice shout out. But so now going back to Creative South, you guys will go to this conference, and Caleb, if you decide to go next year, that's, another
I'll
thing
take that. He
entirely.
just bought a house, so he's
Yeah.
poor.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm poor. That's all.
But do you guys now go to this conference with the intention of, oh, I go and I hang out with the people that I want to be with? Do you spend time together? Is it more of an individual networking kind of thing? Yeah, I'm just curious, like kind of now that you do have your footing in this world as a professional, as opposed to going along as a plus one to your father, what is that like for you?
What are you looking forward to most in a couple weeks?
Well, so we do kind of travel as a pack.
Yeah.
Did. But like, I do feel very seen as like for me at Creative.
Yeah.
Like Doc Reed, one of my favorite people in the world. He and his wife Julie and his kids are hopefully coming down this year, and like one of my favorite people ever to see. And like, even if Dad is off talking to someone else, like Doc will come up and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And
Sure.
Doc and I have a conversation. Or Diane, I love Diane, and she singles me out and makes me feel very seen.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing I love about Creative South is it's like everyone knows Dad, but
Yeah.
everyone also knows me.
Yeah.
And I am my own person there, and I get to interface with them separately. And like there have been times where I'll be like, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna go over here, and he'd be like, cool, see you later, catch up with you at lunch.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, we stick together a lot.
That's cool. I go to Crop in Austin. That's kind of my place. And I actually just had, yeah. Um, I just had Matt Dawson on a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about it. And it's like a similar kind of vibe. It's a lot harder though when you go down by yourself. I went last year for my first time, and this is this is the pub that I see.
I mean, all looking down at the ground. Yeah.
I've seen so many pictures of this dog. It's nice to finally see it in real life.
She's the third one that we shot under the stairs.
Yeah.
She's not a designer.
That's okay. Inspiration, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's so hard to like wedge your way in that first time alone. I mean, thankfully, Nick is great at just kind of being like, "Hey, this is Tom," and you shake hands and you meet people. But it's so cool that you guys get to do this together and share that experience. It's like a family vacation, and you're also learning.
And my wife gets a week to herself.
Yeah, a nice quiet house. That's great.
It's a win-win-win for me.
Yeah. So, we talk a lot on this podcast about career stuff, but we also, it's important to talk about like stuff outside of work. So how do you guys connect when you're not doing all of this design stuff?
There's one answer, and all of us have it in our head right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
We all play
Pickleball.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys do you play in like a league, or do you guys just go like to a court and just like hit the ball around, or what?
Yes. All of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Tournaments, leagues.
We all were tennis players.
Okay.
So Dad and his entire family played tennis, and then Caleb and I. He spent hours upon hours of pain and suffering teaching little 5-year-old children how to hit a tennis ball.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Horrific.
But you have to have the long view in that situation. You have to be like, someday these kids will be able to hit the ball back across the net.
Sure.
So that we can actually play a game here.
Suffering
Yeah.
produces endurance.
Yes.
Endurance produces faith or hope, and hope does not disappoint. Whatever that
Yeah.
is.
I love that.
And then we both played in high school, and then one day my grandpa was like, have you guys heard about this new thing that's going on in Florida? And we were like,
Yeah.
what is this? It's never going to be a thing. And then by the time I graduated high school, no one would play tennis with me.
Yeah, we never looked back. We picked up a pickleball paddle. We were like, this is way better than
I was like,
tennis.
who am I playing with anymore? No one will play. So I converted because I was forced to.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's the last one on the train, but now.
Okay. Okay.
And it's great because I think it's the only thing so far that I'm consistently the best at. So
Okay.
I love that.
That's good.
We'll
Yeah.
let them have that. We'll let them.
One. Just
When I was in high school, my dad, I guess both of my parents always said when we were growing up, like, we're never going to let you win at something. If
Sure.
you win, you know you won. So
Yeah.
I grew up as a loser. Whatever, always a loser. And
Yeah.
now, guess whose turn it is to be a loser? It's my dad's turn. So
Hey, you've achieved something. I'm happy.
on the pickleball court.
you can be the 50-year-old man at pickleball.
That's
Yeah, I love that.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it.
It's so funny too. It's like it feels like the upward trajectory of pickleball and the design community is like a trending line, because it's like every designer I know has artwork or branding for a pickleball company now. And it's so crazy because I mean, I don't play myself, but I have a lot of friends and family that do, and they're like, "Oh, check out this paddle I just bought," and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's like Brethren designed the illustration for that," and I'm like, it's crazy, but it also really funny. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
but yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it's nice that you guys are like so tight knit. I mean, obviously, like family butts heads, and you're always the most honest with the people you love the most. So sometimes, critical feedback can be a little harsh, but yeah, it's really cool that you guys seem to be so well connected on all these levels.
Yeah, I'd say pickleball, and then on top of that too, we're just very involved in a really awesome church community,
Yeah.
and we all have our own little circles, and they all overlap there. But that's just a good place for us to, outside of design,
Yeah,
get connected with people, just have really really good meaningful relationships.
sure.
And Caleb's, he plays guitar or bass a lot on Sunday mornings, and she sings. So like, there's that is definitely like their friend group is very integrated, and it's the same people they see every Sunday morning, and so it's like it's just been really cool to see like a lot of these different communities kind of overlap. So
Sure. Yeah, that's great. And like on top of that, what is the design community like in Columbus? Do you guys feel like you have a really good group that you all kind of like overlap with? And you were talking about like AIGA adjacent stuff. Like what is that like for you guys out there?
I'll let you talk about this.
it's been really good. I one of the things I love about Columbus is that we celebrate with each other. They when we do like awards shows, like the local awards type shows, everybody gets together and cheers for each other, and I really appreciate that. And I feel like we're very open books for the most part, like willing to share trade secrets, help each other out. Like, how did you do that? And I really appreciate it. Even referrals. I refer to myself as sometimes as the bottom feeder, because I don't have the overhead. I can work on projects for smaller companies, and oftentimes, somebody will see something that like a big, 100-person agency or a 50-person agency, they'll see their work and they'll go to them and they'll be like, yeah, but my budget is this. And sometimes they'll say, well, go here, let us send you over to Jeremy. I think he would be a good.
Sure.
And I'll take those all day long. So, I have a local group that gets together. It's a faith-based group, but we get together and get coffee and have topical conversations. So I work really hard to kind of create some community as well here in Columbus. So
Sure.
I've been really blessed. You hear about like Midwest values, and I really do think that seeps into the creative community here for sure.
And
Sure.
on top of that, he won't shameless plug, but creative conference
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely if you're in the area, check out the website. Come check it out. I think it's October-ish, right?
It's gonna be in September this year.
September-ish. Okay, September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and then there's the weekly meetings. So yeah, a little bit of a Bible study aspect, but then how do we apply it as creatives in our daily lives? And
How do we love people
how do
through
love
what we
people?
do?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's really cool, Jeremy. It's always something that I've kind of admired you for, is just like your grassroots like ability to make a career just building identities for businesses like in your community. And do you ever feel like now at this point where you're like, oh, well, people are feeding me work because I have the lower overhead? Do you ever feel like you're feeding your kids some of that freelance work because you're like, well, it's actually, I can't do it because I'm too expensive, but can I give it to them? And like that.
bottom feeders, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I do that. Oftentimes I'll get a project and someone will just be like, I already know what I want. I sketched it out in a napkin.
Yeah, of course.
But I got $500 or I got $1,000, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not gonna want to work with me on this. And I'll always have a conversation with those people. I'll always kind of educate them on the process. But at the end of the day, if it's that or Fiverr, then
Yeah.
I'd rather my kids work on it.
Of course.
So then most of those work out. Sometimes they end up with somebody that they're like, Dad, I cannot believe you sent this to me.
we get some of this headaches.
But they learn something with every single one. So,
Right.
And they've got a little extra money in their pocket.
Let's say
Yeah.
$500 is $500.
Yeah.
Do a lot of bad things for $500.
Exactly. I mean, I feel the same way, and it is true. Like sometimes you get referrals from people, and they're terrible, but they're always learning lessons. And I mean, even me, through my career, like it really started with just taking on some freelance work, like on the side of architecture, and you have to learn how to put a contract together because you get burned one time, and then you realize, okay, I have to have like a buttoned up piece of paper with a signature on it so that I can get my money, or like you start to realize what kind of people you want to work with. So it's good that you guys are getting fed this extra stuff, because agency life and creative consultancy at home are totally different animals.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
thankfully, we learn from a lot of his mistakes.
Happy to pass those.
Well, yeah, mistakes are all learning lessons, guys.
Yeah,
It's important.
100%. And thankfully, we don't have to make them all. But it is really funny also because sometimes, because we're so involved in his work, we will sniff out the problem before he even does.
Mhm.
And we will tell him,
Like, red flag,
don't do that to Magic. And then he'll take it. And then
sometimes they're right and sometimes they're
I think
wrong.
I'm-
Sure.
a good percentage of
Yeah.
headaches. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. All right. Well, listen, I think we can start moving into like final questions, and I know I sent them over to you guys, so I'll just like roll through them, and like if you guys just want to like one at a time, we'll go like one, two, three, and then we can like move into wrapping this up and get you guys on your way. All right. So question one. What's a piece of career advice you would give a younger version of yourself? And Jeremy, I'm going to start with you because you have the most experience, and then we can work our way through.
Yeah, I think I think this is just good for men in general, and in at least in my perspective. I've always had a big sense of like I'm the provider for my family. Like that's my job and that's my role.
Sure.
And I would say, one of the things that caused me the most anxiety or when I started my agency was that it was very sudden, it was very overnight, and I had gotten thrown into a really like stressful situation. And not to get like too spiritual about it, but like I've recognized over the last few years that like it's not up to me to bring work in. I have found that no matter what I've done as far as trying to reach out for work, do promotional stuff, try to get jobs, it doesn't work.
Sure.
It's completely provision from God, and that's just my personal experience. Is that I would get anxious. But one of the things I've learned is to deal with the fact that sometimes you have just like more work than you could possibly handle. And sometimes you have times when you're just so slow, you're like, do I need to become a barista? Do I need to go do something else with my life?
Sure.
But that it all works out, and there's really less control. I have a lot less control over that than I realized that I do.
Sure.
So yeah. So let it go, to a certain extent.
Yeah. Good advice.
Yeah. I think for me, it would just be like, just do work. Like,
Yes.
don't be afraid. Just like, it doesn't matter how many pieces of paper you have to go through or how many erasers you have to go through. Like, just do it. And it's, like I said earlier, like, fight through the ugly phase, because I think most of my work is in the ugly phase. And then I get like 3 things. I'm like, okay, these are the only 3 things that aren't ugly. So I'll roll with that.
Yeah.
And it works. And I don't know. I really easily stop and get like really down on myself. And you just got to keep rolling, just keep working through stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like I would have told myself start earlier than I did. I think Caleb got much more plugged in than I did with
Sure.
like learning the software. And I wish that I had invested a little bit more time on the front end, but then also like, yeah, just do, like keep working at it. It's not an overnight thing. And I think, yeah, definitely like getting over that imposter syndrome. Like looking is great. Stop looking eventually. Like do, and recognize that you're 14. It's not going to be a Vanderbilt. Like,
Sure.
It's okay. It's going to look like a 14-year-old did it. It's going to, but you have to keep going and working, and yeah, it'll.
Yeah. That's really cool that you guys kind of have a similar approach, because I think this is something that Nick and I talk about a lot. Is it just seems like a lot of the younger designers are very very hard on themselves these days, and they have a hard time sharing their work and sharing their process, and it's bad until it's good at the very end. It's usually you hate it until you get to the final iteration of what that is, and I think people have a really hard time being proud of what they're making. So you have to be patient with yourselves, and you have to enjoy the process, because that's a part of it. Okay, question 2. What's a piece of career advice someone gave you that helped propel you forward and achieve your goals?
Supposed to go first. Okay. A piece of career advice. It's been so long since I've had good career advice.
Yeah.
I'm ancient here nowadays.
What, your kids aren't constantly critiquing you on what you should be doing?
That's a great question. I'm not sure what like the best piece of career advice would be. Oh, let Faith answer first.
Yeah, sure.
We'll come around.
Take the job.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be perfect. Your first job, like for me, it was like such a saving grace for me because I hated college. I was in a really bad place with college, and the Lord opened that door for me big time.
Sure.
And it's like take the job.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be everything that you want to do. Like, I am not doing everything that I want to do. That's okay. It's my first job out of college. I'm so thankful for it. I'm doing a lot of things that I want to do. I'm doing a lot of really cool work that I'm proud of. But it has its flaws, as every job is going to. And I think, like, watching my friends who are still in college, like, if I was in college, I'd be a junior in college still. And, like, watching all of them being like, I need to find my job now, but this one's not right, and this one's not right, and this one, oh, I just don't like this. It's like, no, you need to pick one. Just take anything you can get. And the Lord will open a new path for you if that is not where you need to stay longer.
Yeah,
and it's just temporary. Your first job is just like
It's a first job.
It's a first job. You know, whether you're working in the print department at Kinko's, or well, they don't, Kinko's isn't around anymore. You know, like at Office Max
Staples.
or whatever, Staples. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing something creative. You're helping people out. That is a piece of advice I give to college students all the time. Is they're so idealistic about, like, I want to work for this place that aligns with all my values and everything that I've always loved, and I want to make a big difference in the world. It's like, you're probably going to be making ads for the newspaper for a little while.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Take the job and learn from it. So.
And I say all that, but I do, like, I love where I'm at right now. Like, it turned out to be such, like, a bigger blessing than I ever expected it to be. But yeah, like, even then, like, jobs that you may not think are going to be all that can be all that. And, like, what are you bringing to the table then at that agency? Like, how can you then proceed to impact the culture there, proceed to impact the design work there, and, like, how can you really make a difference in a name for yourself in that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's really good in building off of that. It's like, if you don't get to do the work that you want to do in your 9 to 5, do it outside of it. Like, and I'm really bad at this, and my dad's really good at this, is whenever my dad slows down, he will just, like, do stuff. And that's how he's gotten to work with Adobe. And that's how he's gotten, like, all of these amazing jobs, is because he'll just go and do stuff for himself, and other people see it. And so if you do the work you want to do, other people see it, and then they will hire you to do said work.
Totally.
And so, like, for me, like, I love branding and doing that stuff, and that's not, like, a large portion of what we do at my agency. Like, it's a portion, but not as much as I'd like to. So I pray that God brings in work for me to do like that, and he does. And so I get to do branding stuff outside of my job. So like what Faith said, no job's like 100% perfect. If you're waiting for that, like, you're gonna be waiting until you die.
Yeah.
So just do what you want to do on the side.
Yeah.
Whether it's paid or unpaid.
I'm going to echo what they both said. Those are great advice.
And you know who all that advice came from? So.
I mean, it's good advice, though, and it's true. And I think it's a lot of people, they feel really insecure about that. It's like, I think if you go out on your own, you just expect the work is going to flow, and sometimes it's not there. And that is when you have to fill in the gaps and just do stuff for yourself. And that's how you grow. And it's important. I mean, it's just important to make things that you like, because there isn't always going to be that ideal client that's going to come to you and say, like, oh, I love your stuff, just, like, go crazy and do whatever you want.
Yep.
You have to have an outlet for yourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Just, your work is sometimes your work, and sometimes the thing that you want to do, that you love to do, needs to be that thing that you do on the side. Because a lot of times what people get paid for ends up becoming work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and then it's no longer fun. So.
Yeah, totally. And you have to trust the process. There is a certain level of patience that you have to have on stuff. It doesn't come immediately, and sometimes it doesn't come at all. And sometimes you do just have to wedge yourself in there and do it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. What is the next level for you? So that, to me, I pitch this question as, could be a career goal. It could be just, I want to walk more. I want to, like, see some sunrises in the next year. I want to read 30 books. Like, what is a goal for you for that next level of your life?
We're getting interestingly into another phase of life. One's out of the house now. The other one isn't quite. We're not in any hurry.
Please.
Yeah. She doesn't seem to want to leave. So
I'm living here rent free.
That's right.
Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it while you got it.
She's saving up.
Yeah.
So, but I think, I've been going through a lot of like personal introspection and a lot of process and just thinking about like asking myself a lot of questions as far as like how much, while I raised my kids to not be on phones and iPads and stuff, like how much have I allowed that to become a part of my daily thing?
Sure.
How intentional have I been with, what I'm allowing to cause anxiety in my life? What am I, and I think, those kinds of things even impact my marriage and the way that my wife and I communicate with each other.
Sure.
So, I've been trying to be a lot more intentional about slowing down. I'm kind of an anti-hustle kind of guy.
Yeah.
I've never been a big, like, you're going to be successful in life if you just, drive yourself into a total tizzy and you never, and you never stop. That's one of the things I would say for me, that as I grow and become more, just more aware of the fact that I have allowed myself, like I've been kind of going on a bit of a fast as far as like news. I haven't been watching, like I usually had news playing, on my other screen all day long. And I'm like, nope, I don't need that. The human brain does not need the kind of input that is hearing all of the world's problems all the time, 24/7. Like,
Sure.
that's not healthy, and we're not made for that. So, I would say things like that. And I also am in this thing right now where it's like, I don't do goals. I like to change habits and structures. So, I heard someone today on a podcast say that, if your goal is to run a marathon, then you'll run the marathon, you'll have achieved your goal. And then you're like, okay, I achieved a goal. But if you decide I want to be a runner, then you can go out and run for 5 minutes and you're a runner. And then
Sure.
the next day you run for 10 minutes. And then you've started to achieve something that actually becomes something that really impacts your life rather than something that does something one time and then it's done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm in a weird place where I just hit a goal, which was buying a house. Like that was,
Yeah, you're in a whole basket of
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah. So like it's good because I hit that goal, so I feel like I'm in a little bit of a rest period from having goals right now.
Sure.
Overall, just I'd love to just pick up more stuff on the side, more freelance work, and just lean more into the work that I want to do and start putting that out for other people to see.
Sure.
I would love to get a website.
Story of my life, Faith. It's the ongoing project of the decade.
Personal branding and the personal work is the hardest, and just being disciplined to. There's like a shell of a website in Dad's Squarespace that's like waiting to get filled out.
Yeah.
So like as far as like work, that's one of them, is just to get my work out there more. To hopefully pick up some more personal clients. But then more personally, like I would love to just be intentional within this next year of like investing in relationships with people.
Yeah.
The Lord's brought in so many amazing people into my life this year. That have just been such life-giving friendships, and just being able to like, they invested in me so much last year, and I would love to just be able to really strengthen a lot of bonds, continue to grow relationally with other people, and just love people the way Jesus loves them.
Yeah, love that. All right, this is the part where you guys just get to plug all your stuff shamelessly. Jeremy, if you have any projects or anything that you're working on, feel free to shout them out, and then you guys can just go around and let everybody know what you're doing.
Yeah, I just got to do the rebrand for the Columbus's Major League Pickleball team.
Love that. See? It always comes back.
Yeah, yeah. And so this May, like the first weekend of May, they're going to have they're going to be hosting a pickleball tournament here in Columbus, a big event.
Okay.
So I'm excited about showing up at that. Last summer I had the opportunity to work with Target and Major League Soccer to do some work, which was super exciting. Target's definitely been on my bucket list of clients I've always wanted to work with. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
So where can they find all of this great
they
work?
can find it all at slagledesign.com, which is probably linked below.
It will be. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Or my Instagram. I kind of stay off Twitter for reasons we talked about earlier.
Sure.
Chaos.
And yeah,
The
chaos.
cesspool.
Well,
Yeah.
X, I should say. And then I'm on Behance as well.
Sure.
I try to pull, like, I've done quite a few Adobe Lives where I kind of get into my work and teach some tips and stuff. And I've kind of pulled all those over onto my website as well. So if you go there, you can kind of see those and follow along too.
Sure. Awesome.
I have nothing to plug.
Nothing.
Hopefully coming soon.
Yeah.
What will the URL be?
Probably Face Slagle Design. I think you bought that when I was 4.
No, faceslagle.com.
FaceSlagle.com.
I bought both of their URLs
Yeah.
when they were.
Love that.
It's pretty
Perfect.
cool. It's great. Whenever
Thinking
people
way
ask,
ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
people ask for websites, like, oh, it's calebslagle.com. Like,
So
Yeah.
it should be FaceSlagle.com.
Love that.
Don't
Yeah.
check for a while because there will be nothing there. But yeah, other than that, just like plug things that I love. Creative South. You should go.
Yeah.
Let's talk to you there. And then if you're in Columbus, Creative Network
Mhm.
and Creative Conference, both on Instagram, and just a great community there.
I don't believe in social media, so
I love that. That's a great take.
Yeah, my roommate this morning was like, "Do you even have a Facebook?" And I was like, "Yes, for Marketplace." And he went on there and I have 2 friends.
Yeah.
And so, don't find me on social media because you won't. But my website's calebslagle.com. There's nothing all that exciting on there, but if you want to work,
It's work in progress.
yeah, it's just one of those things where I was like, you know what? If I never just like put it live, it's never gonna be live. So it's one of those just do it.
Get it up.
Listening to my own advice, and so it's up, it's live. calebslagle.com. That's
Great.
it. Yeah.
Love that. And then on our end, if you guys have any questions, you can find me at _design, and then DGDC stuff. It's just like at DGDC, either pod or just that name on pretty much everything. Nick's got a really cool episode coming out, I think this weekend, with Brethren. They just did like a really cool interview. So look out for that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, if you're at Crop, come say hi, because I'll be there. All right, guys, thank you so much. This was such a fantastic conversation. I am so glad we got to do this.
It's fun.
Yeah, and please stay in touch. We'll definitely, hopefully, get a chance to meet in real life at some point.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Deeply graphic